So, episode 8.
Whoa, okay. Costume change.
Oh,
Continue.
I'm not
It's as much as you get.
Um,
It's the episode where everyone changes partway through. Unintentional, but
yeah.
in theme.
Episode 8. Okay, so there's actually quite a lot to unpack when they get back to the merge, because there was only one vote that looked like it had changed.
Yeah.
So as far as they're aware, only one person flipped. And Josh knows that it's him. So he's like, I'm in trouble here. So he's kind of confessing to Matt B, being like, yeah, I did it, I got to figure it out, whatever. And Fu just runs up and is like, I did it too. Now, this is very interesting that this happens in front of Matt B.
Yeah.
Because the two of them work out, and Josh and Fu have no reason to lie to each other here at this point, right? And they kind of almost forget Matt B's there. Like, they're kind of giving him a lot of information here.
Yes, yeah.
And they admit that they both did it. And so they instantly work out that means that... Well, actually, Matt is the one who puts it together. That means that someone on yellow flipped. And that gives the Reds and Fu, some leeway here, where they know that there's a crack. They just don't know who it is.
Yeah.
They don't know who did it. Matt will not be convinced that someone in yellow actually did flip.
Yeah.
Matt thinks that Fu has lied here, because if Fu has come in and said that she did it too, then that means that someone on yellow had to do it, and that destabilizes them and creates this controversy. So Matt will be convinced that Fu is lying here.
Fu, fantastic player. Matt, giving her a lot of credit for something she did not do here.
Yes.
Which is like when he tells this to Kiara, and Kiara's just like, I love Fu, because Kiara's just like, that strategy's next level. It's like, but it also didn't happen.
Yes.
Like, Fu's being genuine.
Yes. And this... and then over on yellow, we have... so Matt coming to everyone and saying, they're saying that someone on yellow flipped. And Valentina is like, yes, that is what I've been trying to tell you. It is Abby. Abby is the one who has flipped on me, if what Fu is saying is true.
Yeah.
But I think Valentina has a lot of respect for Matt here.
Yeah.
And I think... I don't know, maybe this is too much of a personal opinion, but I think that Valentina doesn't give herself enough credit here and thinks that Matt might have his finger on the pulse more than she does at this point.
Yeah.
So if Matt's saying this, she does remain skeptical of Abby, but I think Valentina is thinking, well, I have to trust him because this is my alliance and he's saying this, so I'm going to go for it.
Yeah. Effectively, they're both wrong.
Yes.
Matt is saying that Fu is lying about flipping to make us think that someone on yellow flipped. And so for Valentina, it's kind of like, well, is that correct or not? I don't know. But what she's saying is like, no, I'm pretty sure that Abby flipped, which is also wrong.
Yes.
So
it was Sal.
Yeah. So like neither of them have the right read on the situation there. But I think, for Valentina, having someone in her alliance who, bear in mind, Matt B is the one that told her Abby's name. And that's who she voted for in episode 2. Yep. So, like, she ended up doing what Matt B told her to do, not what Abby told her to do. Yes. There's already evidence of, like, Valentina has listened to Matt and trusted him.
Yep.
And essentially what Matt is saying here is that Fu is lying. Fu's playing this, like, bigger game. And Valentina has come from redemption where she's been told this as well from Fiona. Where Fiona has come in to be like, it was Fu. Like... Fu is the one who ran circles around me and lied to me.
Yes.
So I think for Fu, it was kind of like she really couldn't afford to have another comment against her made to Valentina, for Valentina to go like, okay, I might be putting my trust in the wrong person with Fu.
Absolutely. And it's a shame for Fu because we know that Fu is telling the truth here.
Yeah.
And we know that Fu has correctly identified that Val is a swing and that Fu has done a lot of groundwork to try and create that relationship. But in one, quick chop, it is done. And like the Valentina and Fu alliance, dead in the water.
Yeah, and it's really interesting where this vote will go in that the 4 Reds plus Fu are going to target Abby this time around, which for that to happen has required Josh to concede that like, oh, you're right, like Abby's controlling the votes, like, and is now prepared to vote against her. Which is like, you would think that like, well, that's the name that you needed to give Valentina last time. Like, if the 6 of you were voting Abby, like, Valentina's with you.
Yeah.
That time around. But I think the vote after, it's like, well, there's already damage done. You all voted against Valentina.
Yep.
And now you're going to try and say like, hey, this time, like, why don't you join us and we'll vote Abby? Like, from Valentina's point of view, it's kind of like, why would I believe that?
True, but I don't think that's the Reds' plan. I don't think they're not going to Valentina and saying we're going to vote out Abby. They're going to Sal.
Yeah.
Because let's talk about what Sal does when he gets back to the merge. Because he will have to explain himself why he asked for the idol. And Sal does a masterful job here of being honest enough that it all makes sense, but lying to everyone. Well, actually, no, he doesn't really lie to the Reds at all. He tells the truth that he flipped.
Yeah.
But that's a precarious situation for him, because all that they need to do is tell that to anyone on the other side, and suddenly he's in trouble.
Yeah.
But they don't, because they want to work with Sal for this reason.
Yeah. So they're not throwing him under the bus.
Why would they dog him out? No reason. So, and for Sal as well, there is a rumor that someone from Yellow flipped. Nobody believes it, but even if everyone was to believe it, they all think it was probably Abby.
Yeah.
So Sal walks away from this scot-free.
Yeah.
And, you know, the episode will revolve around what Sal is going to do here. Because...
Swing Sal.
Yeah. But maybe let's talk a little bit about what Abby tried to do here. Okay, so... Yeah. So Abby put forward this kind of idea of like, no one cares about Jake and no one cares about Valentina, right? So let's get them out. Let's all work together. We're still Yellow and Red. Like, let's all work together. And that's kind of important when she pitches this idea of, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the Yellows that we're going to try and all together now split the votes between Val and Fu, the last remaining Yellow. And that kind of... Last remaining blue, sorry. And that big kind of conglomeration of Yellow and Red are still going to work together here. But Abby is actually trying to give the Reds the upper hand here. The Reds and Fu the upper hand here. Because Abby is trying to... Look, I don't know exactly where all these numbers Abby thought they were going to land that was going to allow her to do this.
So if we say that the split is going to be the 6 Yellow, they're all going to vote for Fu. And the 5 on the other side are going to vote for Valentina. So that's kind of like the default split. We're all still together. The default is these 2 names because they're not part of that big coalition.
Yes.
However... what Abby is saying is like, let's have this breakaway chunk that is enough to vote for Matt B that is away from that. But in order to do it, you can't have the split as simple as the 6 Yellow voting Fu. You'd have to be telling some people from the Yellow that they are voting for Valentina. So I don't know what her thoughts are on like, who are the Valentina votes? You see the cogs sort of falling off like while Abby's delivering this pitch in front of Red and Fu, which will make Fu give a look to the camera and say like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Because it's where Abby's saying like maybe I need to like throw a vote somewhere else. Because I think that's kind of, it's computing of like, oh, there's 6 of us, but if they don't split it, then maybe I break away, which gives a 5-5 and mine's a random vote, but that won't give us the majority.
Yeah.
And so this is like being said out loud.
And none of it matters because they've actually all decided to go for Abby at this point.
It's like, well, that's all they needed to be like, oh yeah, that seals the deal. We're all voting for Abby.
Yeah, Michael mainly Michael, but he goes to Matt to try and help him orchestrate this plan, realizes that Abby could be setting up her own blindside here.
Yeah.
Like, Abby, if she is successful in her plan, will split these votes, and then if they all pile on Abby instead of Matt, who they are now perceiving Abby as the bigger target, then Abby will get voted out.
Yeah.
Like, what you saw on the show is what happens in real life. Pandemonium just breaks across this camp, and there are names going everywhere. And the Reds and Fu want to try and bring in Sal onto this plan as well, so that they've got 6 to vote for Abby. We don't need them to split the votes if we have Sal.
You just need to swing one person. And... yeah, the reason why it lands on it being Sal, which, you know, as we said, he's the one who did flip last time, so there's a good reason to think that he will vote with you on this time, and he has told them That
Yeah.
like, I'm with you guys. He's built rapport with Michael and Matt, so they feel like, yeah, of course, Sal is with us. He wants to work with us. But in order for it to get down to solely depending on Sal, it's like a case of they've just burned Valentina. So like Valentina's not coming across to them. Like Rachel pitches it to Matt B of like, come vote with us this one. And like he has said he's not prepared to do it.
Yep.
He's like, no, like let's stick to the original yellow-red thing and then I'll flip on the next one.
Yep.
So he's saying not this time, next time. Abby has also said, I want to take out someone from yellow, but I don't want to write their name down.
Yep.
So he's also taking themselves out of the running. Kiara and Joe, we don't hear them being pitched at all. Like, we don't see anyone going to Kiara and Joe and saying, like, come with us against one of your own. And I don't know if that's a perception of, like, they wouldn't do it. Not sure why they're not the people that they're going to. And perhaps it's because they feel like they don't need to, because there is one person who is saying, like, yeah, I'll do it, guys, I'm with you.
Yeah. I think in a normal game of Survivor, when you've got 3 days, you can flesh out all the options.
Right.
I think in Backyard Survivor, when it's that quick, you kind of... There's an element in which, like, putting your eggs in one basket and making sure the egg is in the basket is not a bad strategy, right? Like, really concentrating your efforts onto Sal and solidifying that and making sure that that is what's actually going to happen.
Yeah.
You could say that's better than spreading it too thin and hoping that one of them sticks.
Yeah.
Red and Fu will not get their way. In terms of why it ends up on Fu, I think it's from what I can see, it's the same thing that happened with the Reds and Fu last time, in that, you see Rachel being the name out, and Matt's like, no, I don't want Rachel. I want Rachel. I want Michael. And then, Abby would go to Michael and, goes to like Sal and Kiara at the well, and also Michael, and tells them that it's Michael. And you can see Sal and Kiara be like, what? No.
That is such like a random mix of people at the well.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And I, like Abby just bursting in there to be like, Matt's a snake now, he wants to put out Michael. It's kind of like, who are you pitching this to? Because there are a lot of people that maybe...
Yeah. I love that. Abby's like, I want you to vote Matt B out, but I don't want anyone to know that I have anything to do with it. Half an hour later, Matt B's a snake. Like, you need to get him out.
So funny.
But it's really... And, I feel like it's the same thing as like why Josh and Fu have this conversation in front of Matt B, where it's like, there's not enough time. If someone's around when you need to have a conversation, it's kind of like, okay, well, that's what's going to happen.
Just got to put it out there.
Yeah.
So you were describing that, from the Yellows' point of view, for them to decide on a name, like, so many of them have a connection to someone where they're like, well, I'm not prepared to lose that person. And I think with Matt B, like, we even see that, like, he has formed a bond now with Fu.
Yep.
And, like, they were on that swap tribe together. So, like, they have got a connection. She's sort of giving him intel, but I think there's that doubt of kind of like, oh, but she's a big player. So I think, like, he likes Fu and would like to work with her, but there's this thing where it's kind of like, no, I think she's playing me. And so, I feel like it almost could have moved away from her, with him putting out Michael. But then, is it like Kiara and Joe that are just like, no, not Michael? Like, I don't know. But it's just a lot of people who are defending somebody from Red. Yeah. But...
And unfortunately, Fu doesn't have enough defense in her name, so they will default back to, well, let's clear out Blue. They will vote out Fu, and Sal will stick with the original Yellows at this point and vote her out.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. Yeah. She's incredible. She's an incredible player, and was so sad that she gets voted out here, but she does become the second member of our jury.
Yeah.
And that is the first 2 votes of the merge.
There's no more Blue left to pick off. Yeah. So gloves are off, Red and Yellow. Good luck to you all.
Yeah. Anyone who might have had a very plan in place for what's going to happen next, on the next time, we are doing a twist where they are going into 2 random sets of 5.
Boom!
Yeah, so...
What are you going to do now?
Well-made plans probably won't work out. They're all going to have to adapt and work out what they're going to do next. It is a good episode.
It is.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. So...
Yeah.
Good luck, everyone.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoy it.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Let's get changed.